Africa, tujikaze, America, tujikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for another amazing session of the Daily African Proverbs. My name is Simon Javan Okello. I am the host of the African Father in America podcast, and I'm really excited for today's Daily African Proverbs because I'm here with the amazing Kat Nyambi, who is popularly known as the Hungry Medium on Clubhouse and also, across the world. But, today we just want to go a little deeper and we want to learn about Kat through this amazing African proverb and also learn a little bit about the work she's doing, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, with her platform, and also learn, what story from her childhood still inspires her today as a leader. What is it that, keeps her going with all this amazing work that she's doing? And then we will give you all a chance to also engage, give comments to my special guest, and then also share your interpretation of the amazing proverb that we have. This is a space that is open for everyone. Whenever we gather here, we dissect these proverbs with the hope that we are making our ancestors smile, we are making them proud, and so there's no better person to be here with than Kat. Earlier on, behind the scene, while we were working on this session, my camera just refused to work, and then I decided to talk to my camera. I was like, today you're disappointing me when I'm just about to have a conversation with Kat. And then the camera went on and started working. So, you just unlock greatness, and I'm happy to have you here.
God.
Yeah.
You are too funny, Simon. I thought that was a really great exercise in just being calm and serene to release the energy that was causing your camera not to work.
I know. And I want to invite you to just briefly introduce yourself and share with us what today's proverb, which is from Equatorial Guinea, what it means to you. The proverb, I'm going to add it at the top of the room in just a second. It says, a stubborn chicken learns its lesson in a hot pot of soup. Think about that and join us on YouTube. We are live streaming this, and if you are already there, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so that when we have the Daily African Proverbs tomorrow and in the future, you can be amongst the first people to be notified. So Kat, I'll pass you the microphone.
Thank you, Simon. You are such a sweetheart. It's rare to find gems. And when I do find a gem, I make sure to watch it from afar, see how it shines, and then see if that gem will just let me live in its life for a little while, see what it's doing. And that's what I feel like you are, Simon. You're a real gem, especially here on this Clubhouse app. And I appreciate you agreeing, because I kind of invited myself to this podcast.
Yeah, well, this is your podcast too. This is your platform. So you did what I expected of you. You have to, anytime that you want to be on, you don't even need to ask for permission. You just schedule it,
Oh, you're a sweetheart. But, yes, my name is Kateria Nyambi. They call me Kat. In the current circles, I am a spiritual activist. That's what I like to call myself. What does that mean? As a medium, as a psychic, it's not my job to just tell people their future. That's not why I'm here. My job, my mission that I've been awakened to over the past, I'll say, 10 to 15 years, has been to help others tap into their own power, helping others figure out what their path is, and hoping that they follow the instructions given to them by their ancestors and spirit guides. So that's me in a nutshell. Did you want me to talk about the proverb? Because I think it...
Yeah, I would love for you to talk about the proverb and take your time. Take the space.
Thank you so much. When I thought about the proverb, because at first I was going to get nervous. I was never good in school at interpretations of stories. I could never understand why I was never good at it. I'm much better at it now, especially as a spiritual advisor, being able to read in between the lines. And one of the things about this proverb is that I like to put what are things? What are the metaphors, right? So a stubborn chicken. So that's us. Okay. Easy enough, right? Um, when I take this proverb and apply it to the kind of work that I do, I notice that people like to push against their path, right? So being stubborn is when you are given instructions by your own intuition. You have your own dreams, your own aspirations, right? And then you may have others like your parents or others around you who are telling you what you should be doing, how you should be following your path. And what do? You listen to these people and you push against the path and the mission that you were brought here to do. So where do you end up? You end up in a pot, right? You end up in a hot pot. And that hot pot is filled with sadness, disappointment, regret, right? So, what I've always been trying to get people to understand is all you need to do is listen to your intuition. If you have trouble tapping in, you get some help, but follow your own dreams, your own desires, your own hopes, right? And that will take you where you need to go. Was a this was a soul contract you made with God before you got here. And so people say, well, I believe I'm in control of my own destiny. You are absolutely right. But are you listening to your source and your soul who actually wrote the path for you? You know, it's almost like you came to Earth. You ever see those movies? I know how you are with movies, Simon. We talked about that, where the woman has amnesia and so, but she's a secret agent, right? She has amnesia. She wakes up. But what did she do? She left herself a tape, right? And then she plays the tape and it's her on the tape. That is what life is. Okay. That tape is your intuition of you telling yourself, why are you here? Who are you? So if we could get people to go with the flow, stop climbing against the tide, do what your soul and source says you need to do, not what others are telling you you should do. What do you think of that?
I love that. I love that. Accepting what your source is telling you to do is it's like a burden in itself, and once you choose to pursue that path that you completely believe with every part of your being that this is my path, it's very scary, once you start walking that path, because you realize that people are not holding your hand like they do when you're following the paths that they want you to follow. People are watching you from behind, from the sidelines, and then there are obstacles along the way that they also see, but sometimes they don't even tell you. But as you cross each obstacle and overcome, they clap for you. They don't take the next obstacle off of your way. They still leave it. And I just want to appreciate you for sharing your interpretation in that way. But also I want us to now just head to, as a leader, as a creator of a big platform, that you have a container that you've created for people, the hungry medium. There must be a story that is driving you, and it has to have come from your childhood. Because for me, when I was 8 years old, my mother gave me a bicycle, and the bicycle had a small wheel at the front and a big wheel at the back with big carriers for carrying big luggage, and so that marked the beginning of me becoming a bread and milk distributor in our neighborhood. And that required me to know people in our community and make money and build relationships with people from a very young age. And since then, I learned how to support a woman who is a leader, who was my mom at the time. Majority of people in our house who are also women. We have so many sisters. I have so many biological sisters who are much like my mother. But I learned to work for what I earn, and I learned not to depend on other people. Even when I was riding that bike at that time, I was meeting some of my colleagues going to school while I was still riding the bike fast, because when I see them, I ride it faster,
Because you didn't want them to see you, or you had to hurry them to go to school?
I wanted to finish my delivery or collecting the money from the people I delivered to, so that I can go to school, And at the same time, sometimes I didn't want them to see me, because I was still sweaty a little. But then when I went to school, I'm the only one who probably had a little money in my pocket, and what my mom did, this is a long story. Today, it's your story. So
I love it, though. This is what happens. It's not your fault. This is what happens. It's just the way it happens, Simon. And you needed to express yourself. I want to hear that story.
Well,
I think we'll do a room. How about I do a room and I invite you?
Yes, I'll tell everything. I'll tell you everything that day. But today you tell me everything.
I will dig. I will dig, Simon. My childhood was very interesting. I like the way that you said your mother gave you a bicycle. She didn't tell you go out and do this. She gave you a bicycle. She gave you a tool, right, to use. And you, in your 8-year-old heart and self, you somehow came up with this business. Maybe you had advice from others, but you came up with this business idea. I think it's important for parents to allow their children to be and do what they want to be and do here on this earth. When I was a child, my parents let me have imaginary friends for longer than most parents would. And what's so interesting about my folks is they were both older Black people from the South when they had me. I mean, I have older brothers and sisters, but back in the 60s, 40-something-year-old Black people didn't have kids, So I was the last one. And they let me dream. They let me have this imaginary friend. They spoke to her often, when I would tell them she was there. And I also, as a kid, suffered from asthma. And why is that important? It's because I probably died a couple of times, and there's one thing about living through near death experiences that matures you, but it also gives you faith that you must be here for a reason. How many times have I been close to death in the emergency room where they're not letting you in? Back in those days, you didn't go in right away. You had to sit, not being able to breathe. And it just made me stronger. It prepared me for now. When I was a kid, I dreamed of wealth. I spoke to spirit. Didn't know that I was poor. That's why I dreamt of wealth because it's like, oh, I could get anything I want. I grew up in the projects. Can you believe it? I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn, but I knew that I would not always live there, but I was so happy. I was such a happy kid. And I also experienced a lot of life of duality because I was surrounded by Pan-African nationalists. My brother was in the Black Panther Party. They started a school for young children like myself in Brooklyn that kind of mirrored the Panthers program, but yet it was centered in African spirituality. But yet I went to church. I grew up in a Baptist church. With my mother was like, this was her last shot to get one of her kids saved and sanctified. So it was me. So I have all these different experiences, jambalaya of sort, to bring me to this point that, and everything I think back on has contributed to who I am. The background in Christianity has helped me become a better spiritualist. And that may sound weird to a lot of people, but it's absolutely true.
Wow. Yeah, you sharing about your Christianity and spirituality reminds me of my upbringing as well. I grew up in a very, very staunch Christian family, but it was equally a staunch African spiritual family,
Yes. And the two things can
Yeah,
exist.
yeah,
The two
yeah,
things can exist
yeah,
together. My
yes.
father was an agnostic. I had an agnostic father and a holy roller Christian mother. How do two people like that live together for 40 something years?
Somehow they do. I
They
think
do.
the opposites last longer, Um,
Hmm.
and I want to just check in with our amazing audience members here on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. It means a lot. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel and push the thumbs up button so that when we have this conversation tomorrow and the days to follow, you will be notified by YouTube. And also, if you are on Clubhouse, thank you. Remember to follow the Hungry Medium and follow the African Father in America Club. Follow me if you want to, be engaged with other conversations that I host on Clubhouse. And also nominate other people to the African Father in America Club, which is at the very top of the room. And also, I want to invite some of you to join us on stage so that you can, share your opinion, share your thoughts and your words of wisdom in regards to the proverb from Equatorial Guinea that we are discussing today. Now, my wonderful sister, who is my guest today, I want you, Kat, share with us what the Hungry Medium is. How did you create it? Why is it important? And what are some of the, groundbreaking work that you've done through the Hungry Medium that just keeps you smiling like you are right now?
Well, that is so funny you said that. So, the Hungry Medium was a concept I came up with because I have had several personal brands in my life. One was called The Catalyst, where I was just all about bringing people together. Oh, I'm just going to bring people together. When I finally embraced myself as a spiritual activist, someone who is, trying to get people or succeeding, because that's an accomplishment, and getting people to understand their own power, I had to come up with something. And so I had to embrace the fact that I was a medium. That's number one. Because I wasn't telling that. I wasn't saying it. I was like, oh, no, no. And then the other part of my life that and as a medium, I'm a prayerful person, spiritualist, but I'm also a foodie. I love food. I just love food, Simon. I'm a good cook. I'm a great cook. And it's not just regular food. I like to combine things from different cultures and different places. So I brought it together, the Hungry Medium. And what I loved about the word hungry is because I'm a Gemini, I'm constantly hungry for information. I mean, you could call it nosy, but I just call it hungry. And I, like you were talking there and I was just listening. I was soaking it in. I love it. I love to hear people's stories. I love to people's narratives, no matter what background they're from. So when I came up with the Hungry Medium, I also wanted a tagline, and I was posting about this the other day. I said, it's all about eat, pray, laugh, right? So most people have heard eat, pray, love, but eat, pray, laugh has been the tenets of my life. you know the passion I have for food, the passion I have for spirituality and teaching people, and my passion I have for laughter. I mean, I fancy myself an amateur comedian. And I try to bring all of those things together. And remember, I said to you, you're not trying, Simon, you're doing. I don't try to bring those things together. I do bring those things together in a way that makes people comfortable, brings down their guard, because we all eat, right? And if we pray, which could also be considered meditation, we can tap into our intuition. And I just said about the soup, laughter, laughter versus sadness is something that can help bring you out of your funk, bring you out of that soup. Because if you are on a path and you are not happy, that means you're in the soup.
You know how to make me listen completely, you know.
Oh, thank you, Simon.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. When you speak, I find myself listening and also visually uh, following what you're saying, and especially when you're talking about food, I began salivating. So I want you to talk to us
Yes.
about your favorite food.
Right now.
Right now, right
Because
now, right
right
now,
now,
right
it
now.
changes. Right now, as people will know, I was on Instagram the past week. I made kimchi for the first time. Have you ever had kimchi?
I probably have, but tell us more. Maybe I'll discover as you describe.
So here's another thing about the hungry medium. I just don't make things to make things, right? I like to find out where are the commonalities in food, which bring us the commonalities in cultures. So kimchi is a fermented cabbage that is very spicy. It's a Korean dish, and maybe Japanese people might say, no, it's a Japanese dish. Korean dish. And it's all about fermenting, right? So then my question becomes, and so it was delicious. There's a whole video, da 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 da. Then the question becomes, who else ferments? What other cultures ferment? So in Ghana, they have banku, right? And then there's something that's even more fermented than that. I make that face because when you say fermented, it sounds terrible. But fermenting is actually an amazing probiotic, where you let things sit and get sour, but it's also survival food. So where throughout the world and also the diaspora do we see foods that people had to ferment or pickle, which is a different process, to survive? So my latest thing that I've been guided to work on is kimchi, which is going really well. And last year, or the year in 2020, oh my God, I can't believe it. It was bread baking. I was a sourdough bread baker. Okay. Because it was like, I need to learn how to make food out of flour and water. And now I need to learn how to ferment food out of vegetables and just a little acid, spice, and let it sit. That's really the food that I'm on right now is the kimchi. But it
Wow.
could be anything, Simon.
Yeah, yeah. What I'm on now is I'm making ginger tea, but I'm
Saw
mixing
that.
it with. You saw that I'm way advanced. I keep adding different things to it because of how
Yes.
it makes me feel. I
Yes.
literally, people are getting so sick right now, but if I make one, like one. 3 different containers of this ginger tea, and
Yes.
I have it for 3 days. I feel
Yes.
great, and
What's
especially
in it again?
oh man, I have ginger is the main ingredient. Then I have lemon, I have honey, I have turmeric. I added garlic to
Mhm.
it recently because I was
Oh, my
told that.
mother did that. Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was told garlic helps with inflammation. So I was like, let me
Yes.
add this one in there.
Yes. Yes.
uh,
My mother made a cough medicine. It didn't help with coughs, but it helped somehow with garlic, lemon, ginger, and cayenne pepper and honey. And we used to have to take that before school. Could you imagine a mouthful of garlic like that before you go to play with your friends?
One thing though about garlic is whenever you're traveling to Africa,
Hmm.
especially the malaria prone regions, which is most of Africa. If you eat enough garlic, you actually you have natural mosquito repellent, you know. So yeah, so mosquitoes don't actually bite you if you eat a lot of garlic. So
Oh my God, I love garlic so much, Simon.
so important for you.
You know, it comes out of your pores, and
Yes,
I
yes.
love garlic. I would do really well then. I would have no problem just eating garlic. And you know, you could preserve it once again in honey, just like the whole clove in a jar of honey. And then when you are ready to, and it changes the texture. And when you're ready and you need it, you just pop it in your mouth like candy.
I love it. You pop it in your mouth like candy. Now,
Hmm.
I want to welcome everyone who is just joining us on Clubhouse and also on YouTube. My name is Simon Javan Okelo, and I have a really, really special guest here with me, Kat Nyambi, the founder of the Hungry Medium, and just a humble, spiritual activist, the Kana Curious Club, and part-time conspiracy theorist. I want you to talk to us about these two things. We haven't covered the Kana Curious Club, and I feel that one of the most underrated plants in the world is the cannabis plant. In Africa, growing up, I was a mischievous boy, and so elderly women would send us to the peddlers where we would go and get the leftover marijuana that then they would boil and use for treating sick children.
Oh, yes.
So that was before I ever indulged in any of the marijuana usage that I have enjoyed as an adult. And in Seattle, it's legal. So if
I
you live
know.
here, it's everywhere. But then I see that you have a bit of knowledge. I want you to just speak about the Kana Curious Club, and
Yes.
your passions around part-time conspiracy theory. But before you do that, I want to invite our audience members to join us on stage. In about 2 minutes, I will be turning off hand raising. So this is a good time for you to join us on stage so that you can engage with Kat and myself, and also share your thoughts on today's proverb. So, Kat, I'll pass you the mic.
Thank you, Simon, for letting me advocate for something that's very near and dear to me. I really try to calm down. I have to take moments of calm yourself down, Kateria, because the topic of cannabis is very near and dear to me, not just as a person who was a teenager who indulged and now as an adult also indulged. One of the things, or two of the things, I've done in my life, I've accomplished is surviving cancer. And, you really, when you get through almost dying of asthma and being close to, dying from cancer, it's the survival mentality of I need to find ways that I can control how I eat and what I consume. So I've always been an advocate for cannabis because it is a female plant, first of all. And also, it is been maligned, and it's one of the oldest plants on this planet. When I say old, I'm talking ancient. And it was stigmatized mainly because of white supremacy. And what's so sad when you talk about the marijuana fields in your town or village, you have people from European countries who go and hunt. They're called strain hunters, and they go to countries to basically steal, seeds from underdeveloped nations who do not understand the value of the seeds. So I find it interesting that you see how our people in Africa are using this to heal one another. The Canna Curious Club is really to inform and educate people, especially older people, about the benefits of cannabis. The endocannabinoid system that we have in our bodies has been depleted over all these years because of white supremacy and making it illegal for us to consume marijuana. So it the fact that we have endocannabinoids, and then cannabis has the cannabinoids that we need to help our bodies in terms of immunity and in terms of inflammation. Those two meet. They're the receptors that meet and can help you with wellness. I'm trying to educate people in any way that I can by talking to others in the industry about it. Clubhouse used to be a huge place to learn about cannabis for lay people who maybe are afraid or don't understand the plant. So thank you for letting me talk about that a little bit.
It's true. In the initial stages of me joining Clubhouse, I learned the most about cannabis than I've ever learned in my entire life.
Yes.
And I also learned about the cannabis and the Bible, and
Yes.
how cannabis is actually so much entrenched in the Bible, and there are so many books of the Bible that actually speak to it and encourage it.
Yeah.
I've interviewed people that work in the cannabis industry. I learned that in 2020 the cannabis sales in the US hit $17.5 billion. That's
I'm
enough.
shaking my head because that's great.
But
I'm
who is it
also
going to? Who is it going to? And
Oh my God.
and imagine Africa has the biggest portion of arable land in the world. Imagine we invested in commercial farming of cannabis. We would instantly, in like 2 years, we would eradicate poverty, because Jamaica legalized it, and now they're exporting it to Canada. Uganda are exporting to Canada as well. Malawi just hired Mike Tyson as their marijuana spokesperson.
Oh, Mike Tyson is an amazing success story.
Yeah.
I need to just learn everything I can about him. Speaking of him. But you know what, Simon, you talk about it. I hope that it is proliferation in Africa, because this plant belongs to our people. It belongs to the world, but it's been here for so long. We've seen now studies that talk about, they're coming out about the use of CBD, depending on what type of chemical format of CBD for you know what, I don't really like to talk about it on the air, but it's what the pandemic that we're going through. I wanted to make sure we mention the fact that these people are getting rich off of cannabis. Meanwhile, there are people in jail who are still locked up because of the sale of this plant. I think it's so important when we talk about this. This is a plant, and people are in jail for the sale of this plant. And now the pharmaceutical companies are trying to come around and take over. This is so unfair. This is like the epitome of being unfair.
Thank you so much. Now, I want to again welcome everybody to the Daily African Proverbs. We've been holding this space for the last 1 year here on Clubhouse, and also, on YouTube for the last about 8 months. So we are probably the biggest source of African proverbs in the world right now. I had researchers in Kenya who have been putting in work on, who are the primary sources of African proverbs, and who is putting in work instead of just lining a list of proverbs. The only people who are putting in work in protecting and preserving African proverbs is us in this room together right now. And that's why leaders like Jane Naidu, who is the former Minister of Communication in South Africa, supports this work. He has introduced us to a number of African spiritual leaders from South Africa, Zimbabwe, that we host here as guests, that also understand the value of what we do here every single day. So the hope is that we share this with our children, we share this with our community, and the way that you can support is by pinging pinging in people into the room right now. If you're listening on Clubhouse, if you're watching, sharing the live stream, and letting other people know that there is work being done to protect and preserve our culture, and also to enhance African wisdom amongst us. With that, I want to welcome our first guest to share, your comments, and then later on, I'm going to bring in Kat. Kat, I want you to think about everything that you're going to hear from everyone on stage, so that you share your closing remarks, and also remember to share how people can support your work towards the end of our conversation. So now we want to invite KZ. KZ, share with us your remarks, and if you have your interpretation for today's proverb.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. So I want to start off by saying thank you guys for continuing to host this space. It's really amazing. I've been kind of off, for the last I don't know, a couple of months because I had had a lot of stuff to fix. But I really enjoy listening to these uh interpretations and shared knowledge that sort of circulates this space. And also, I'm really happy that like Clubhouse has this whatever function that you can always sort of like hear the or replay the rooms and whatnot. It's really been helpful. And I'm also happy, this is probably the first time I hear that you guys do the YouTube thing as well. So yeah. Also want to thank Sister Kat Nyambi for your words. And it's really uh really inspiring to listen to you, and your sound like sounds like you're a person who is really full of wisdom, and really do appreciate you. So I want to share my proverb, or how I interpret this proverb from Guinea. Uh, Reminded me of a saying, actually a couple of things. Like one is, these days the young people tend to say, if they maybe observe someone who's like maybe lost in a particular way, maybe is in trouble or something, like they have a phrase these days called lost in the sauce. And it's really funny. It's really funny because it also kind of like reminds me of another proverb that we actually discussed here, which was I think it went in the lines of awakening happens when you're in the jaw of the lion or something like that. uh, so this all speaks to uh, I think maybe either realizing mistakes when it's too late, or um, you know, uh, acknowledging or maybe noticing uh, that or change that the change that happens when you're actually in trouble or something. Because there's a lot to learn. In conflicts, especially, and that's basically when it's sort of like when you're the most uncomfortable, or as some people also say, when you hit rock bottom, that's when you sort of, or like you need to hit rock bottom before you can actually move up again sometimes. And um, yeah, so I think I think that's all I had to say. Uh, so thank you so much. I'm Kay, and I'm done.
Thank you, Kay. This is Simon. I'm super grateful for your contribution and your continued support, and I loved your interpretation. I want to continue on and listen to everyone on stage. Then Kat is going to come in and just share her remarks, once we hear from everybody. So let's go to Devon. Thank you, Devon, for being here. I hope you're doing well today.
Hi,
Devon.
Simon. Hi, Cats. I'm doing well, thank you. Um, you know, I just have to laugh at Kay saying "lost in the sauce." Like that's just so funny to me. Um, I used to work with kids. Um, the kids kind of that nobody wanted to help, kind of lost in the system. But that's another matrix. And I used to tell them that all the time. So when, he said that to me, it brought me back to working with them and just, reflecting on the jaws of the lion. I love that nugget. That was great. Um, for me, the interpretation, a stubborn chicken learns its lesson in a hot pot of soup. I just love it because just to kind of draw from what the hunger medium had mentioned, you know, if you're not listening to the advice, both of God, your ancestors, and of the people in your life presently, or the signs, or, like your intuition, you definitely end up stuck. And, the jaws of the lion is definitely something I've experienced, I would say, a couple of times. I'm a very explorative, or, I like to explore, and sometimes my exploration kind of leads me down something that I always tend to learn after. So I've been, I guess, in the jaws of the lion, and I've been in the hot pot of a soup. But the beauty of it, if we look at it, is what we learn from it. And I guess with that, I'm done speaking. Have a wonderful day.
Oh, you too, Davon. You also have a wonderful day. And Kat is noting what you shared. She's going to respond in a moment. I'm just grateful that you're here. I appreciate your continued support. Austin, how are you doing today? And what's your interpretation or comment to my special guest today?
Good morning. Thank you, Simon. Good morning, Kat. Buen dia. Habari. Ya saburi. Man, there's so many things I've been listening to this morning. That Kat was sharing, I was just soaking it all in. I mean, I love it all. And I sort of zeroed in on what she was saying about being a catalyst, sort of an encourager, to help people, find their purpose. And that's sort of like what we were talking about the other day about sometimes when we get lost and we just end up going on the same path over and over again. We're definitely not happy. And like she says, when you're on a path that's not making you happy, you're definitely in a pot of hot water. You find yourself in the soup, or like you were saying, Kay and Devon, you're lost in the sauce. So it's so funny because when I look at that proverb, and I think like all of us, sometimes we realize what's really in front of us. Sometimes when we hit the brick wall, when we're at our toughest point. Like Kat was saying, as a cancer survivor, I'm sure there were times when it was like, wow, this is serious here. This is serious here. And when you overcome that, I think it makes us a better person. And we want to share, our achievement and our ability to rise above those difficult times with others. And, at all costs, try to avoid being in the hot water, trying to avoid being in the soup. But sometimes, even in my personal life, there's things that happen. And sometimes when I hit the brick wall, that's when I realize, like, wow, this is serious. I really got to make a change. I've got to alter my trajectory, change my path. But I thank God for what she was sharing this morning. Very inspiring. And I love that phrase, eat, pray, and laugh. And that's so true. That's so true. That helps us to sort of get our focus in life and our purpose. So once again, I thank you, Simon, for creating the room. Thank you, Kat. And I was sort of laughing because when you were talking about your upbringing, Simon, man, you keep sounding more and more like my brother, my soul brother, because I grew up with 10 biological sisters, and that sort of changed my outlook on life too. So I'd love to hear more about your story another day too. But thanks again, everybody. I pass the mic.
You're most welcome. Thank you again, Austin, for being here. And, send Kat a back channel message and push her to host me and interview me on her platform, and I'll be able to share everything,
You don't have to push me, honey. You are in, okay?
Please do.
Please.
Now let's hear from Dr. Wanda. Dr. Wanda, thank you again for your continued support for the daily African proverbs. Share with us your perspectives.
Good morning, all. Good morning. That's a
Grand
very
Rising.
interesting proverb. The only thing, this proverb does make me just a little sad because it kind of reminds me of the people, oftentimes it may be family members or loved ones that you have really tried to reach, you've really tried to guide, you've really tried to suggest, and not, not in a controlling way, but like you could just see destruction right in front of them. And it's like they put on the gas and they press it down hard and they drive fast right into destruction. And sometimes that, you often you see it, you've been trying to put up warning signs, you've been trying to stop them, but for sometimes they just don't. And so we do hope that they are able to get out of the hot pot of soup, but sometimes they are not. But still yet a good proverb, and it's even one that'd be good even just to share so that people don't get to that point, the point of no return. And I'm complete.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wanda. I appreciate your perspectives. Let's hear from Kalema. Kalema, I hope you're doing well. Share with us your perspectives on today's proverb. Kalema is... Hey, go ahead,
Hi.
Kalema. Nice to hear your voice. How is Kampala?
Hey, Kampala is cold today. Simon, how are you? Plus everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. This is Kalema. Actually, one thing I didn't know is that Uganda exports ganja to Canada. I wish Ugandans knew that. I wish typical Ugandans knew that. Everyone would be doing that business because they're just misusing that drug. Okay. For starters, my interpretation of the proverb is stubborn chicken learns its lesson in the hot soup. Okay, it's like when you get to do certain things in a stubborn way. Let me give an example of a child at school. You get to do everything they tell you to do. You do it in your opposite way, in the opposite direction. So perhaps when you get out of school and you start the real life outside, you might enter, maybe you might go into a wrong group, or you might you might do something which is so bad. Then that's when you get to learn your lesson that, oh God, they used to tell me this, I used not to do it. They used to tell me this, they used to warn me about this. That's my interpretation of this proverb, and thank you guys for listening to me. Once again, I'm Kalema. I'm a safari guide and tour operator in Uganda, and thank you for the platform, Simon. I'm complete.
Thank you so much, Kalema. I'm grateful for your support for this space and also for the weekly travel room that we have here on Wednesday. Joseph, hopefully you'll speak to it briefly when your moment comes. Now let's go to Darren. Darren, briefly share with us your perspectives on today's proverb.
Hey, good morning. Really, thank you so much for this very rich conversation. There are so many really amazing things that popped up, and throwbacks to early Clubhouse and like the weed rooms. I remember the first small room I popped into was like the owners of High Times, and just met like a lot of really cool people from there, and got to nerd out with them since I was really into cannabinoids and using them to just treat a lot of issues I was having with ADHD and autoimmune issues and everything. So my interpretation, I'm thinking just that conversation or portion that you guys had about near-death experiences, um, just knowing that you're supposed to be here. And I feel like that's something that I could see in others. And in spite of having this inexplicable knowing since childhood, I've always just known to trust my dreams. in spite of like a peace and joy that comes from knowing your intuition is guiding you. I've had this lifelong relationship with depression. So there's always been this lack of value that I've felt in my own life. And each day, I guess I'm just looking at it as like I'm surviving this day by day. And so I think of like um, the stubbornness to know and feel my own value. And this past year, well, in 2021, I gave birth to my daughter, and then for the first time felt like, okay, well, there's an extension. Well, not that my daughter's an extension of me, but there was this reason to live that um, I had someone to take care of, I had someone to love, I had someone who depended on me, and that's why I needed to be here. But even after that, um, as my body was shutting down because I had preeclampsia, and there were just, I ended up getting hospitalized for about a week. Well, first I came home and, I was having trouble breathing. Like my exhales felt like I was inhaling water. And because I'd been so used to not believing that my being unwell was worthy of attention, it didn't occur to me that this is something I really need to go and get checked out. And yeah, finally, end up in hospital, whatever. Um, and in that healing and in that proximity to death, finally felt this urge to be here. And I guess I'm looking at it now as like that lesson where at that moment of, I guess, yeah, a refusal to accept what can be, what is, it just happens in that moment of it's all about to be over. And yeah, I guess I can end my thoughts right there, but definitely have felt it with the stubbornness to see value in life. And I guess in that moment of feeling like it was about to slip away, finally started to appreciate it, if not for my daughter, but at least for myself as well. Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Thank you, Darren. That was really, really powerful. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I see Kat nodding her head. She will add to it in a moment. Sister Nedra, share with us your perspectives briefly, please. I see that on your profile, Sister Nedra, you mentioned that you're still new to Clubhouse. So if you want to unmute, the best way to do that is on the lower right hand side. There you are. Carry on.
Yes, yes, and I do tend to have whole conversations with the mic muted still. Are we talking about self-worth?
No, we are talking about the proverb that is above the room. You're sharing your interpretation. What comes to your mind when you see the proverb that says, a stubborn
Ah,
chicken learns
oh my
its
God.
lesson in a hot pot of soup?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I've I've been that stubborn chicken. Um and I've been in many hot pots of soup. Uh and it is definitely a spiritual thing. It's like the ancestors will speak to me. As a matter of fact, we talk just like I'm talking to you every morning. And sometimes I can be a bit headstrong. I'm a child of Obatala and I can be a bit headstrong. And so I'm learning now to put one foot in front of the other, to work with what I have to work with, and to practice more kindness and more mindfulness. And sometimes it's really hard. Having raised 6 children and seeing them reflect me and seeing them reflect their recent ancestors, gives me pause, and I had to really, really learn how to navigate through being a mom and how to navigate being a lover or wife or girlfriend, whatever we want to call it. It's difficult, it's difficult sometimes. And you you want to say things that will have repercussions later on down the road, but I'm learning how to just sit with my emotions. And I think my emotions is what made me the stubborn chicken, you know. And so learning to sit with my emotions, learning to sit with my feelings and let the dust settle before I respond. Learning how to not react but to respond. So that's my take on that. I haven't been able to watch the videos yet, but I want to watch it and really sit with it. Um, yeah, that's my take on it, because I know that I've lived it more times than I could ever talk about here. Just I'm going to do this no matter what, and ooh, my goodness, if I could take all of those times back.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was beautifully said. It reminded me much about my days as a teenager or a kid being tasked with the job of picking the chicken that is going to be slaughtered for guests and running, around the neighborhood because the chicken does not want to be slaughtered either. So we had to run until the chicken is exhausted. Then we bring it back and we slaughter it. Anyhow, those who grew up in Africa probably understand what I'm talking about. But now I want to invite. Go ahead.
I do. I just want to add one thing that I think is really important. From the time I became 30 years old, I began calling my mother on a regular basis, apologizing for being such a crazy teen and apologizing for all the trouble that I gave her and acknowledging all the wonderful things that she gave to me. And so I think that asking for forgiveness and that acknowledging is a big part of getting to where you're not a stubborn chicken. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's hear from Noga now. Noga, share with us your perspectives. I hope you're doing well today.
Hey, excuse me. Hey everyone. I am doing well, thank you. I hope you're doing well. Also, Simon. Um, I've been loving the inputs for this particular proverb because I think I'm at that point in my life that Sister Nedra was just talking about where I've been going to my mother like, wow, I'm so sorry. But I as well was the stubborn chicken, and I'm still the stubborn chicken sometimes. But I guess my interpretation is kind of the same as everyone, and in the sense that yeah, if you're a stubborn chicken, eventually something will always teach you your lesson. But also in the sense that the stubborn chicken is probably the one that they don't want to deal with anymore. So that probably ends up getting picked out to go to the test first anyway. Um, that was kind of veering off, but I also wanted to give a shout out to the hungry medium. I was able to kind of catch the end of your conversation, and I read your bio, and I think everything you do is beautiful. I tried to, on my journey in relearning African spirituality as well. It wasn't something that my family taught me. Um, One of the things that I'm very happy that I was stubborn about, but I also did learn my lessons. And also the conversation you guys were having about cannabis and, hemp and growing things there, because that's something I've been thinking about a lot also. So Thank you for your presence. My name is Noka. I land my plane. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Noga. Let's hear from Brother Johnny. Johnny, I hope you're doing well. Share with us your perspectives, please. Thank you.
Peace, peace, brother Simon, and peace to sister Noga, and thank you,
Hey, Johnny.
and thank you to sister Kat for sharing this space. I didn't get a chance to catch your testimony, but I know anybody associated with brother Simon is phenomenal. When I hear the proverb, "A stubborn chicken learns his lesson in a hot pot of soup," I think of two proverbs, one an African proverb and one a Turkish proverb. And the African proverb that I think of is ears that do not listen to advice follow the head when it is chopped off. And I could rephrase that as ears that do not follow advice follow the head when it is chopped off. So choose wisely which you follow. And the second proverb in which that reminds me of is the Turkish one, which is even if you know a thousand things, ask the man who knows only one. So at all times, be humble, stay humble, be grounded or get grounded. And that's my interpretation of today's proverb. Thank you, as always, Brother Simon, for hosting this space.
Johnny, thank you, man. You're like a wealth of knowledge when it comes to proverbs and wisdom. And every time you have to share an interpretation, it's like the beginning of the daily African proverbs. When you are one of the people that helped build the foundation for this space. So I truly appreciate you, Brother Joseph Kafunda. Share with us how Namibia is, what your perspectives are on this proverb, and also what's going to happen tomorrow during the conversation about top travel gems in Africa.
Thank you, Brother Simon. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Namibia is doing good. We are receiving a couple of good rains, and we are blessed. Even in the coast yesterday, we had, for the first time almost in a year, we didn't have rain, but we had it yesterday. Other than that, we are taking it slow each and every day, although we are trying to raise now awareness about the usage of plastics by fishermen around the coastal line. So me and my team, we are currently embarked on a travel journey where we have to walk about 159 kilometers within a space of 7 days, just to raise awareness for the usage of plastics and educate some fishermen not to use plastic, but instead of using things that we know it can be for the future sustainable. Other than that, the interpretation of today's it's a very close interpretations that when you put your fingers or your hands in the hot water, when you remove that hands, you're gonna be burned. So in life, don't take chances. So the best way is to remain humble, to remain as you were, and don't try to impress other people, because once you try to impress other people, you might be burned at the end of the day. So just do what you have to do and what you think you can be able to do best.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Joseph. I think you're still unmuted, but we might have lost you because of network. So I just want to
Don't just to adapt pressure on you, just try to avoid that pressure and so forth. And Simon, just to come back to us tomorrow, we're gonna host one of the best rooms tomorrow for each and everyone who's here. Join the three hidden gem of Africa. It's where we travel virtually. Each and every one of us on the stage tomorrow is gonna be able to share their three travel hidden gem in Africa. So when sharing that, we are actually experiencing or telling people what we have experienced during our travels, as we share, as we all know that today nobody can be able to travel because of what is happening, the pandemic and so forth. We come up with this idea where you can be able to travel virtually. So each and every one on that stage will be able to share and speak about the beauty that Africa possesses. So I invite each and every one to come in. I will be in Skeleton Coast tomorrow, and I might be able to join you, Simon. But like I always say, I will not miss that for any moment. So I will make sure that I have enough Wi-Fi in my pockets so that I can be able to join the room tomorrow morning, tomorrow evening. But just note, I might be able to join for the first session, but not until at the end. So I'm done speaking. My name is Joseph.
Thank you, Joseph. And the session Joseph is talking about is tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you so much. And now I want to come back to you, Kat. I want to just thank you for being who you are. I don't think I did this at the beginning of our conversation, and for being so generous with your space. I remember when we had Gogo Rutendo Ngara on Clubhouse the second time you hosted her, and it gave the idea of hosting leaders like her legitimacy and also just strength, because when you do things on your own, it has no meaning. But when you have other people doing it together with you, for example, you reaching out and saying, look, I have to be on your platform. I was like, of course. I just appreciate you for that. And I want you to share with everyone who is listening how they can stay connected with you, how they can support you, and also share your closing remarks, what you've heard from people today. Just wrap it all for us. And then after that, we will begin closing our session for today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Simon. This has been I knew it was going to be awesome. And look, it was. I'm so glad your camera was able to work in the middle of a retrograde. If anyone wants to reach me, I always tell people just go to my website, thehungrymedium.com. That's the easiest place. You'll see where all my socials are and things of that nature. I do we co-founded a club on this app called Black Folks and African Spirituality Club. It's the largest Black spirituality club on Clubhouse. I think we have over 23, maybe 24,000 members. So you can find me in these Clubhouse streets, Clubhouse hallways. This year I'm dedicating to staying more guesting and in the audience, listening and learning. In regards to summarizing, there were so many things. Two things I wanted to pull out were the awakening. That hot soup can be a huge awakening. People call it a wake-up call. Hot soup could be a huge wake-up call. We talk a lot about, people mentioned their parents and listening to parents. And while I agree people should listen to their parents, you also have to listen to your inner voice and your higher self. To follow the path that you came here for. You pick these parents, yes. Do you always have to listen to them? No. When you find yourself in hot soup, should you listen to them? Yes. Because somewhere along the way, Spirit is speaking through someone, but you have to pick what's resonating with you as your source, because you're the one who signed the contract. The last thing I wanted to say was in regards to being stubborn. What's the opposite of stubborn in my mind? Surrender. Surrender. And that's one of the toughest things that some of us can do, is to give up complete control and just let the ocean waters flow over us and let the feminine energy of letting go wash over us, and see where it takes you in your mind and in your heart and in your soul. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Simon, so much for this opportunity. And I will definitely be reaching out to have you come talk to me on this platform as well.
Thank you so much. And I want to have you back as a guest in the near future. So let me know. I just want to go back to our audience members on YouTube. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Remember to leave your comment with what today's proverb means to you. The proverb is from Equatorial Guinea, and it says, a stubborn chicken learns its lesson in a hot pot of soup. Share what it means to you. But if you're on Clubhouse, I truly encourage you to join the African Father in America Club, and also follow the club, nominate a couple of people to join the club as well. And join us tomorrow. We have another special session here, same time, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Tomorrow we are hosting a poet. Her name is Chioma Sherry, and she's going to be turning the proverb into a poem and reciting it to us during the session. So You don't want to miss that. So with that, I just want to give a quick special shout out to Mala, who is a great supporter of you, Hungry Medium. Mala, thank you again. I know we didn't hear your voice today, but it's always, amazing just the work that you do to support the Daily African Proverbs on Twitter especially. Thank you all. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Peace and love.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington.